Look, if you just watched the crap I did, you would want to eat cheese balls as well. It's The Tomb by Bruno Matteis. Cue the Courage the Cowardly Dog joke.
I'll steal it! No one will ever know!
Who the fuck opened my door? Oh, that wasn't a planned skit, honestly. I think the door just, got blown open because it's cold down here. Anyway, the original content thief, Bruno Matteis, legendary Italian director of a lot of exploitation films, Hell of the Living Dead being one of the films he's done with stolen footage of nature documentaries and various fucking footage. So why do I bring up content thief? Well, The Tomb steals footage from multiple films. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It is a film that is made with stolen movie footage. So before I go into what it steals, let's get into what it rips off. It is not a Mummy ripoff, despite that's what it's trying to be in a way. Because to call it a ripoff of The Mummy would entail it being an epic adventure. Now, before I go any further, actually, again, I have to stress I'm talking about the late 90s Mummy film starring Brendan Fraser, which is friggin' awesome. It's a great film, honestly. I love it. Also love Brendan Fraser because he's awesome. But essentially, that is what it wants to be. It opens up the same way. Imhotep is sacrificing what appears to be the whitest woman in all of Egypt. And then the king bursts in and with his guards, and he just says, "Fuck you, I'm gonna kill you, Imhotep." I don't know, he's not called Imhotep, but the thing is, I forgot all the names of the characters already, except one, and you'll understand why in a bit. And so, the priest and his mistress escape. The priest has been stabbed, and so they decide to quickly mummify him, which entails wrapping him up in what looks like gauze and sealing him in a tomb that is hidden away with Aztec switches and locks and stuff. So I don't think he's an Egyptian mummy. I think he's actually supposed to be an Aztecian mummy. I don't know if that's the right words or the right things, and I'm sorry if I got that wrong, and I really am sorry if I am wrong. So that all happens. So we fast forward to 2004, because that's when this movie came out. And so we're with all these college students who want to find this ancient temple in South America, I believe. And they get a guide who looks like, I don't know, a very, very frail scat man John with the biggest Adam's apple I've ever seen and the fakest mustache I've ever seen. And they get to a town where everyone treats them like shit. And Scatman goes to a bar where he sees the priestess doing some sort of routine on stage, and she constantly switches between normal face and Buffy the Vampire Slayer vampire makeup. He then runs off, and this is where the stolen footage actually starts. Now, IMDb says more sources than I could find of the stolen footage, but I recognized 3 sources, and here they are. This movie steals sources from The Mummy, the actual 98 Mummy film. It steals a snake from Predator, I believe. There was actually a scene where the ratio actually changed, and I recognized the snake from the movie Predator. I think it was from Predator, because I've seen that movie so many times. But weirdly interesting, and I don't get why they did this. They could have done this with any other movie, honestly. Even Italian movies. They stole the cemetery footage from Army of Darkness, of all things. Because the guide ends up in a cemetery. I'm sorry if my eyes look like I'm squinting. I really do. He ends up in a cemetery, and falls into a hole, and he's looking around, and he starts seeing skeletons come out of the ground, but I recognize the footage from Army of Darkness. I've only seen that movie a handful of times too. I like many of the scenes from the film, but I've only watched the film completely a few times. I've seen Evil Dead 1 more than any of the other films, but Evil Dead Rise and the 2013 film as well. But he gets killed by being buried alive. So the college students think he abandoned them, and the hotel owner they're at says, "You should go see the medicine woman. She's called Bruja." And I'm like, doesn't Bruja mean witch? So she called herself witch? And that's when I realized this film's going to be stupid. And so we get an extended sequence of this woman performing like witchcraft to treat this woman's stomach ache. I think it's a stomach ache. She's throwing up. Like, she's throwing up chunky green vomit. And I feel bad I had to say that. And so it's obviously the priestess again. Because they can't hire multiple actresses to make it seem like, some illusion at this case. So it's just the same actress who's played the priestess, the stripper as the priestess, and the Bruja disguise, who's actually the priestess in disguise, and vampire priestess. So why do we need a disguise at this point? So what happens next is she says she'll help them, and they go through the forest, and one of them almost dies from quicksand, but she uses her Bruja magic to save the girl. The girl just dies later, by the way. So what the fuck was the point of that? What the fuck was the point? So what happens next is they end up at the temple. I'm really just abbreviating the film, by the way, at this point, because it's not a fun watch, if I'm honest. It's a slog for a few reasons. One, the amount of stock footage I had to sit through was kind of annoying. The IMDb says there's Indiana Jones footage in this movie, and I can kind of believe it. I think maybe some of the jungle footage might have been from Temple of Doom. That's one of the films listed. It's also said Raiders, The Last Crusade, I think, and maybe Raiders of the Lost Ark. I didn't see the latter, but maybe there was some of the former. I don't really know. But yeah, I can definitely see a lot of the Temple of Doom stuff possibly popping in there one place or the other. But in terms of the actual, like, the movie itself, the acting is, of course, movie quality. It was made for TV. And you can tell because a lot of the sets do look cheap, but the ones they had to make themselves. The altar for the final scene and the opening scene look perfectly fine. They look serviceable for a TV budget, but when it comes to things like having to have actors, that's where the movie falls the fuck apart, because the actors are obviously really, really cheesy. They are really, really bad. But at the same time, I kind of enjoy the badness when it comes to the acting. It makes it a little more tolerable, if you can believe that. It kind of makes the movie less, how do I put this? Little less annoying. Like, the overacting helps make it more palatable, if that helps. It bumps it up from Shiver Me Timbers bad to Birdemic levels of enjoyable. Because everyone, honestly, they're there for a paycheck. They're not there to make high art. And this movie is not high art. This is like if you were watching a side story in a Buffy TV show. And the last part of the movie is definitely there. Because there's like the reincarnated sacrifice girl and the professor. The professor's trying to save the girl. He does save the girl, but he's fighting the fucking priestess woman, and it looks like a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fight. Like how it's shot, how it's edited, how it sounds. It is the cheesiest shit you'll ever see, and I was laughing the whole time. The movie ends on the note of, You shouldn't have looked at the damn treasure you went to get. But he did, and now he's blind, or dead, or anything. I don't know. The movie just ends, which is another trademark of Bruno from Hell of the Living Dead and Rat's Night of Terror. I don't know if they ran out of budget, or if they just didn't want to give us an actual ending. Or maybe the ending wasn't in the budget. I don't know at this fucking point. It's Bruno Matteis. Who cares? If I'm laughing, it's because the movie, like, after I watched it, I was angry. But the more I think back on it, I wasn't bored. And that's the important thing there. I want to be angry at this film. I want to be angry at the tomb. But I was actually entertained afterwards. It was actually a fun experience. It's not a bad film. It's a good bad film. Here's the thing. Bruno Matteis makes some terrible films, but they are terribly enjoyable films. Rat's Night to Terror is bad, and I really hope I don't like it because he hurt animals in it, but I could rewatch Hell of the Living Dead a lot. He also did 2 zombie films after this, which I will get to, because one of them is actually a ripoff of a film I didn't think anyone would actually rip the fuck off. And another film is just an Aliens knockoff, which I didn't think he would do twice in his life, but he did. And so, I kind of want to do more Bruno Matteis on this channel. But I will do that after next month, actually. Because next month, we're going to go after the horror demographic that sadly needs an ass kicking in this day and age, considering what we've seen in the news with people like Johnny Somali and other people who go to countries and think, if I piss off the local police, nothing bad will happen to me. Unfortunately, asshole, a lot of bad will happen to you, because next month is May, and I'm choosing next month for 100 subscribers special month of reviews to be live streamer month. Cue the end clip.
Let's get out of here!